Hey guys, it's your average middle-aged American back again with another reaction video. This one is coming directly behind Six Crazy Laws in Germany. My US videos don't get near as many views as my German videos do, but hopefully you'll check this out because it's Felicia from Germany. And she's lived in America and lived in Germany. I think she actually kind of goes back and forth a little bit. And she's going to tell us about American laws after she just got done telling us about German laws. Hopefully these are a little more silly than the last ones. The last ones were, I don't know, a little free speech constricting for me. I have not seen the video. We'll see it together. Before we start, we're at 600 subscribers. Can't tell you how great that is. I know it's not big numbers compared to the rest of the internet, but for me, it's huge. I just started the channel about, I don't know, 3.5 months ago, and we're picking up subscribers every day. Can't thank you guys enough for all the conversations, all the knowledge, the guidance, the tips, the traveling tips. 99% of my channel is geared about learning about Europe and traveling to Europe, European culture, and a little bit in there defending America, because I am an average middle-aged American who's proud to be an American. So, I'm not going to lie, some of my feelings have changed as my knowledge has expanded. Didn't study a lot of Europe stuff in college or high school. And I do have some different outlooks on some things. We'll leave it at that for now. If you haven't subscribed already, hit that subscribe button, please. Doesn't cost you anything, helps me. Our goal is to get it to 1,000. 1,000 is just a ginormous number. I never would have thought that I would have gotten there that fast. Hopefully we can get there soon. We're more than halfway, and I appreciate all of you. If you don't want to subscribe, hey, that's cool too. But comment, give some knowledge. Let's have a conversation. Let's keep it civil. All right, enough jibber jabber. See what she has to say about America now that she talked about Germany.
It's illegal to kill Bigfoot, and you're not allowed to let your donkey sleep in a bathtub. If I didn't know any better, I would think that someone made these things up, but nope, these are real American laws.
Yeah, I mean, laws come from events. So somewhere somebody got hurt by letting their donkey sleep in a bathtub. So we'll just end that right now. No more sleeping donkeys in bathtubs. Yeah, these are going to be a little more silly than a 4,000 euro fine for giving a police officer the finger in Germany. In case you didn't know, anything that's blurred out or muted in these videos was done by her, not me. She had a little bit of a situation with her username and stuff, so she had to go back and change all her logos and all kinds of stuff. So anyway, I will never do that to anybody in any of my videos. If I don't like something, if it's horrific, I'll just cut it out and you won't even know it was there. I won't blur it or mute it.
And welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Feli. I'm originally from Munich, Germany, but I've been living here in Cincinnati, Ohio since 2016. In the land of the free, as they say, but sometimes it's not all that free because there are some pretty crazy laws for very specific things that are actually forbidden in the US.
All right, let's keep this civil, guys, but I am dead serious now. I want you, type, to tell me a freedom you have that I don't have as an American. And don't say it's like free health care, because you don't have free health care. It's paid for by taxes. Actually, you can't. No, take that back. There's no caveat. Anything that you think that you have as a freedom that I don't have as an American. I've had a lot of people jump my case when I said that America was the freest country in the world. And then I said, okay, after I got all that backlash, I said, okay, America's one of the freest countries in the world. And I still get backlash. But I don't ever get any evidence. Now, if we were in Germany and I said my feelings were hurt, it would be illegal for you to jump all over me. Not in America, though. In all seriousness, give me some information. Download me some knowledge. Well, what are you guys freer in than I am? Make my brain think about some things.
And when you hear about those, it just makes you wonder, how did this scenario even become a topic in the first place? So after I talked about 6 crazy laws in Germany last month, here are 13 crazy and admittedly very funny laws in the US. And yes, it's 13 this time instead of just 6, because if you're looking for crazy,
America,
this is the place for it. One thing that's not forbidden though, thank God, is having meal kits with seasonal recipes and pre-measured ingredients delivered directly to your door.
What a transition.
Now, the first law on my list of crazy things that are forbidden in the US is from Arizona, where it's illegal to let your donkey sleep in a bathtub. According to my research, this law was brought into effect in the year 1924 after an incident near the city of Kingman in the northwestern part of the state. According to the story, there was a merchant who had a donkey, and the donkey got used to sleeping in an abandoned bathtub on the property. The problem occurred when a local dam broke and the whole town was flooded. The donkey and its bathtub were flushed about 1 mile down the valley before it ended up in a basin, so like a Flussbett in German. It took a lot of manpower, time, and money to save the donkey, and after that experience, it became illegal for donkeys to sleep in bathtubs, and the law exists to this day. They are, however, allowed to stand in a bathtub, for a bath, for example. And we'll stick with animals because in Fairbanks, Alaska, it's illegal to give alcohol to a moose. Now, unfortunately, I couldn't find the original story that this law goes back to.
Listen, moose are one of the largest animals in America, probably the world. I mean, outside of, giant elephants or whatever. But so, yeah, when they're drunk, they're a menace. And why is it moose and not meese? If it's a goose, it's geese. Right? So why isn't it meese? If you know, let me know.
Even though I'm sure it's a very entertaining one. However, drunk moose are actually a common phenomenon. In Scandinavia, they often get drunk on accident by eating fermented apples. In the US, the last famous drunk moose was Buzzwinkle, who was a well-known moose in the city of Anchorage, also in Alaska, because it frequently wandered through the streets of the city. One day in November of 2007, he somehow got his hands on some fermented crab apple cocktails in the courtyard of a local bar, which got him really drunk, and later he was seen parading down the streets with some Christmas lights tangled around his antlers. Local media then gave him the name Buzzwinkle. By the way, the reason why you come across these super specific laws in the US is that not every law here has to be decided by a parliament or city council, but instead there is such a thing as case law here, so judge-made laws that are simply based on previous court rulings. And that's why in Connecticut, a pickle can't legally be called a pickle unless it bounces when dropped from a height of 1 foot. This goes back to the year 1948, when the 2 pickle packers, Sidney Sparer and Moses Strexler, were arrested for selling pickles that were unfit for human consumption. So they had gone bad, basically. As a result of this, the Connecticut Food and Drug Commissioner Frederick Holcomb tried to identify ways to check whether a pickle was good or not, and told reporters that in addition to the laboratory tests they had been doing, you could also, quote, Drop it 1 foot and it should bounce. The pickles in question did not bounce, and Sydney Sparer had to pay a fine of $500, which was the highest possible amount at the time, and the pickles were destroyed. Now, to get away from these rather funny sounding laws for a second, one thing that's pretty crazy to us Germans is that in the entire US, it's illegal to import and sell these things. Kinderüberraschungseier, surprise eggs. In Germany, they're a childhood staple. They have a chocolate shell with this white cream layer on the inside, and they come with a surprise toy in the middle. Sometimes they're just little figures, but sometimes you'll get a bunch of little pieces and a little manual, and you have to put it together yourself, and then it can actually do.
There's something like that. I even think it's the same brand name, so maybe it has to be made in America. Let me go to the Google. Oh, this is Elon Musk's baby name, which was the predecessor to the SR-71. You can't name your kid that in Germany. That's on the past video. And by the way, anybody who thinks I talk too slow, most of my subscribers are European and they're middle-aged or older. You will not insult me if you want to speed up the video to 1.25 or 1.5 or whatever. Part of it's me thinking as I talk. I don't use scripts or any of that nonsense. And some of it is me trying to talk slower so that people can understand me. I've made a few videos that were too fast and I've gotten comments about it. Yeah, you can't stuff a toy in the middle of food. It has to be in a separate package, I'd imagine. Joking risk. Makes sense. See? All of our food is full of all these toxic chemicals that you guys outlaw, but we all outlaw big pieces of plastic in the middle of our food for kids to choke on.
Do something, like it's a little car with spinning wheels, for example. Those toys were even more popular in my childhood. But in the US, the surprise eggs are banned because under the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetics Act, it's not allowed for confectionery products to contain a non-nutritive object. Meaning, food can't contain a non-food item, and one of the reasonings I've heard is that because it would be a choking hazard for kids. Now, while I see the logic behind that, I can guarantee you that it's not like anyone has ever just bitten into a Kinder Egg and accidentally swallowed the toy in the middle, because first of all, what psycho takes a bite of it just like that? You obviously separate it in 2 halves first.
Okay, I can assure you that that exact same thing has happened. There's 340 million people in America. You don't think anyone's ever shoved one of those eggs in their mouth? Come on. There are people in this country that are drinking antifreeze to get high, and you don't think someone can choke on a tiny little toy?
And the toy comes in these oval yellow capsules, and I think even if you tried, it would be really hard to swallow that. Now, of course, little pieces of plastic might be dangerous for little kids, but that's nothing specific about the Kinder Eggs. That's true for little toys that come without candy too. So even though I understand the thought behind it, I think it's a pretty crazy law, especially in a country where a child is legally allowed to own a rifle in 30 states. This also brings up the question why fortune cookies are allowed in the US then, but apparently this is because the paper inside the fortune cookies is technically edible. You're not supposed to eat it, but you wouldn't die from it. Since 2017, at least the Kinder Joy eggs are a thing in the US. They're a little different from the traditional Kinder eggs because the shell is actually made of plastic, and then the one half has a candy filling and the other half has a toy in it. So the food and the toy are separated, and therefore it's allowed. But if you do want to try the real Kinder Kinder Eggs someday, all you have to do is either go north or south, because fortunately they're legal in both Canada and Mexico. Another thing that's kind of crazy from a German perspective are the drinking laws in the US. Now there's a lot to talk about here. If you want to learn more about the differences in drinking culture, check out this video. But besides the drinking age, 20-year-olds not being able to even step foot into a bar, and the ban of alcohol in public, one thing that makes me shake my head every single time are the open container laws in cars. These laws vary from state to state, but in the majority of the US, in over 40 states, you can't have an open alcohol container in your car. Now, I totally understand that it's illegal for there to be an opened beer can in the driving console or something like that, although even that is legal in Germany, but it prohibits the presence of any type of unsealed container that contains or contained an alcoholic beverage, including bottles, cans, flasks, and other types of containers. Meaning, even if the container is closed, it's not allowed if it has been opened before. So a bottle of liquor with a reclosable lid isn't allowed either. I've been in so many situations where me and my friends wanted to just, let's say, bring the wine bottle from last night with us. Nope, you can't do that because it's been opened before and is.
That's not correct. If you want to bring an open beverage into a car, you just put it in the trunk. It's that simple. It's not that you can't transport it. It's that you can't have it in your lap so that when you get, pulled over for hitting the yellow line 3 times, the driver doesn't hand you the beer. And then you go, oh, I wasn't drinking, she was drinking. Doesn't matter, it's illegal. And now you get your car searched because you have probable cause. We have a big DUI problem in this country. Big DUI problem. And everyone talks about guns, even her. But there are thousands and thousands of people killed every year due to drinking and driving. Thousands. Like 20,000. Maybe more. Let's look it up. Every day, 37 people in the United States die in a drunk driving accident, a crash, collision. It's a person every 39 minutes. 13,524 people died in 2022. So think about that. 13,524 people died in some type of DUI collision. And every one of them was preventable. So yeah, we probably have stricter laws than you do on alcohol. You don't have as many cars as we do. You don't have as many people driving as we do. So it's different. If you're drunk on a bus, who cares? You're an idiot. You're drunk behind a 6,000-pound SUV, you could kill 20 people. So, yeah, it's a big deal. It's a real big deal.
Isn't sealed anymore. Or when I went to a music festival in Delaware last month, I refilled some liquor into plastic bottles because you can't bring glass bottles to the campgrounds, and then I realized that these plastic bottles aren't sealed either and technically count as an open container, even if they're somewhere in a bag on the back seat. Now, here in Ohio,
it's not true. All you got to do is put it in the trunk, and if you don't have a trunk, you put it in the furthest corner of the car. So if you can't reach it, it doesn't count. I mean, they're not arresting somebody for picking up beer cans on the side of the road in the back of a pickup truck. That's not what it's for. It's not what the law is for. First of all, the first thing you do is you put it in something you can't see through. So they can't search your car without seeing the open container. It's not what it's for. The law is very clear. It's so that people aren't drinking and driving. Other people in the car aren't drinking while they're in a vehicle. You know, it just eliminates that whole problem altogether. Do people do it? Of course. You go to the convenience store, you get a fountain drink in a big giant cardboard cup, you pour out 3 inches of it, you pour your rum in there or whatever, you have a rum and coke, and the lights come on when you're getting pulled over, and you just drink the whole thing as fast as you can. No evidence, soda cup, no one's going to jail. As long as you're not driving. I mean, if you're driving, you're going to get tested, but is it right? No, it's not right. I'm pretty sure, though, they have drive-through drinking in New Orleans. Let's look it up. Today, there are dozens of drive-through daiquiri shops across Louisiana. Louisiana is a whole different, New Orleans is a whole different place. There you go. Yeah, it's another thing a lot of people don't realize is that America is 55 little countries, 50 states and 5 populated territories, and they all make their own laws. There's federal laws that cover everything in the United States, and then there's state laws, and then there's city and county ordinances, and then there's even little towns, and then you got the homeowners association who think that they're government. So yeah, so that's a perfect example. In New Orleans, you can get a drive-through daiquiri, and in, I don't know, Florida, you're going to jail if you have a daiquiri in your lap. Or you could go to jail. You may just get a ticket, as long as you're not drunk.
And I would think in other states as well, you are allowed to put open containers in the trunk. But I think this only works if you have a car where the trunk is separated from the rest. So in my hatchback, where it's all connected, I don't think I'm allowed to do that. Isn't that crazy? But let's go.
I don't think that's true. I think if you can't reach it, it doesn't count. I mean, that's the whole purpose. What are they going to do? You're going to make a law that for only people, what about every SUV that's on the planet? I mean, everybody has an SUV now. We have 2 of them. That's not realistic. So let's look it up. If your car doesn't have a trunk, place it behind the last upright seat in your vehicle. That's what I said. So you just need, it's just common sense. First of all, you put it in a bag that's not see-through. And from that point, it doesn't matter anyway because they can't see it. If you don't look for trouble, you won't get trouble.
Go back to more lighthearted laws in the US. In West Virginia, children aren't allowed to attend school if their breath smells like onions. I mean, that's literally every child's dream. Legally skipping school? I mean, what else do you want? Now, the exact wording of the law specifically mentions wild onions. And this is because in West Virginia, they have a certain type of wild onion called ramps. And those are famous for their foul odor. It's even said that when they're being cooked, you can smell them from like a mile away. So you might think twice about it before you eat those just to skip school. The next law is something that we might actually need in Germany. In Massachusetts, it's illegal to sing or play the national anthem wrong in a public place. If you've ever seen a soccer game with the German national team, you may have noticed how a lot of the players don't know the words to their own national anthem, and I think that's the case for a lot of Germans. It probably has to do with the lack of patriotism in Germany. The anthem just doesn't really play a big role in everyday life, but that's a different topic. Anyways, in Massachusetts, you better be careful not to mess up the American anthem when performing it in public. Even though I'm not quite sure if they would punish you for simply messing up the lyrics or forgetting a part. Based on how it's phrased, I feel like this was more about butchering the anthem on purpose to convey certain political messages.
I doubt that law is valid. And I mean, I doubt that if it is valid, I doubt that it's enforced, because that goes back to freedom of speech. I mean, I'm sure that in the past probably was, but there's no way that's past the Supreme Court. You can flick off a cop, you know, you can sing the Star Spangled Banner backwards or whatever. Now, is it in poor taste? Of course. Both are.
Similar can be found in Arkansas, where they made sure that people don't mispronounce their state
Arkansas.
name. It's not Arkansas, even though that's how it's spelled. It's Arkansas. The statute describes it very detailed, actually. It should be pronounced in 3 syllables with the final S silent, the A in each syllable with the Italian sound, and the accent on the first and last syllables. The pronunciation with the accent on the second syllable, with the sound of A in man and the sound of the terminal S, is an innovation to be discouraged. Now, even though you'll often read that it's literally illegal in Arkansas to pronounce the name incorrectly, the wording doesn't actually use words like must, but it says should and discouraged instead, and it's never been prosecuted, so I don't think it counts as an actual law. What is an actual law, though, is that in 2 counties in Washington state, it's illegal to kill a Bigfoot or Sasquatch. Yes, really. Skamania County has had a law for that since 1969, and in Whatcom County, they passed a resolution in 1992.
Okay, in all seriousness, my guess would be that they're afraid that someone's going to get shot in a Bigfoot outfit, a costume, either making a prank video or whatever. There have been so many Bigfoot sightings in America, you wouldn't believe it. I mean, there's entire TV shows where the entire show is nothing but people looking for Bigfoot, like week after week after week. So it is not unreasonable to think that there are plenty of 6'6" idiots wearing Bigfoot costumes out in the woods. And some of them, I don't know that it's ever happened, but I wouldn't be surprised if someone's been shot before for imitating a Bigfoot. America, baby. America.
And even though this sounds really funny, it actually kind of makes sense. I mean, just imagine finding out that those creatures are real after all, but only when it's already been killed. And it can also be dangerous if people were to try and kill what they think is Bigfoot, but in reality, it's a person. Now, there are actually tons of articles and lists out there that have hundreds of dumb and crazy American laws listed, many of them being state and local laws. But when you look into it more, it seems like for most of those, there's no actual source. So it seems like they're probably more urban legends than actual laws. But even though I couldn't find any evidence for these to be true, I do want to tell you a few of them because they're just so funny that
There are some crazy laws, like I don't even know, just like you can't slap a salmon in the face if you're in a helicopter. I mean, just insane. A lot of alligator laws, like you can't park your alligator on Main Street or something. I mean, like I can't remember, but there are a lot of crazy laws. There's laws. I mean, back in the day, it was a law that you had to take your rifle to church in case, in case of war, in case we had to go to war against Britain or whoever, Canada, who knows. But France. There's a lot of crazy laws. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, some of them need to be documented. A lot of them with alligators.
I actually really wish they were true. And I mean, even if they're myths, there has to be some origin, right? So supposedly, in Louisiana, it's illegal to tie an alligator to a fire hydrant. In Marion, Ohio, it's illegal to eat a donut while walking backward. I found that same law for Marion, Oregon too, though, so something's definitely wrong here. In Illinois, it's illegal to fish while sitting on the neck of a giraffe. I guess that means I'm gonna have to find a different state for that now. And in Washington, it's supposedly mandatory for a motorist with criminal intentions when they're coming into a town to stop at the city limits and inform the chief of police that they're entering the town. Again, most of those laws on those lists don't appear to be true, or at least I couldn't find any evidence, but they're really entertaining. So I'll just list some articles about those in both English and German down below.
All right, guys. Well, there you go. That was a little bit more fun than the German law one. German law is kind of all about restricting your right to talk. These are just interesting / silly. So, hope you enjoyed that. If you're new to my channel, it's anything and everything that interests me as an average middle-aged American. 99% of my channel is currently about Europe. Learning about countries, cultures, talking to Europeans on a daily basis, defending America when I feel I need to, and just having great conversations, learning as much as I can. Wife and I plan to do some traveling when we enter semi-retirement and retirement, and I'm just trying to gather as much knowledge as possible before we start getting on planes. I appreciate all of you, appreciate the subscribers. We are 60% to our goal of 1,000 subscribers. If you haven't subscribed already, I appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button. Doesn't cost you anything. Appreciate all of you. Appreciate your knowledge. Appreciate you sharing it. Civil conversations. And I will see you on the next one. Take care.